Today we're going to be going over some S-tier fragrances that stand out to me the most out of my entire fragrance collection. So simply put, when it comes to me browsing and trying to make my selection for my scent of the day, oftentimes, depending on, of course, the time of year, these are going to be the ones that are jumping out to me the most. Obviously, because things are always changing and new releases are always coming out, we have a wide variety here of things that are a bit newer. We've got some things I've had for quite a while. Some designer, some niche, obviously some fresh and some sweet. Always a nice selection, so no matter what you like, you will find something that catches your eye. And if anything does catch your eye and you want to do some shopping, I'll drop links to everything down below in the description. But let's not waste time, and let's start off with one that always stands out to me, especially in fall and winter time. This is something I tried years ago and immediately fell in love with. It is Kilian Apple Brandy. This one has oak, vanilla, cedarwood, and apple. No surprise there. Smells absolutely wonderful. And I'm telling you guys, Kilian is the king of boozy fragrances. I've talked quite a bit about quite a few of their scents here recently, just because that's kind of the time of year that we're heading into. Everything from Straight to Heaven, Angel Share, Old Fashioned, Intoxicated, and again, one of my all-time favorites here, Apple Brandy. Man, it's absolutely remarkable, and it is so easy to describe. And the best way to describe it is simply to just look at the name, and that is literally what you get. This beautiful sweet apple and this boozy brandy accord, just this aged oak barrel type of sweet booziness. Again, it is just, words almost can't even describe it. You know, you're hearing that and you're probably thinking, yeah, that sounds cool, but you really have to try it to appreciate it. And I think for those of you who like this sort of thing, you wouldn't be disappointed. As far as a blind buy is concerned, you know, it's going to be a little bit more out there, not something I would just rush into without having some prior experience to either other Kilian fragrances and or just, you know, fragrances of this caliber, these type of sweet, you know, brandy, whiskey-based scents, you know, just in that type of category. But if you're somebody who has had experience with one or both of those things, and this is probably kind of like a no-brainer purchase for you. Now, at this point, we also have Apple Brandy on the rocks, which is part of their, you know, other fragrance line. At the end of the day, I still prefer this OG one right here. I mean, it is so realistic, so smooth, refined, and just expensive smelling. And of course, you would expect it to be, or hope that it would be expensive smelling, because it is expensive. Now, you can get it on discounters and typically around $200. It's a 50 ml bottle. I understand it's not the cheapest thing, but I'm telling you, if you're wanting to know what stands out to me in my collection, this is up there, especially for this time of year. Absolutely worth trying. Sticking with this trend, the kind of cooler season here, especially for fall, Prada L'Homme Intense is one that's kind of at the top of my rotation oftentimes, just because it basically captivates that original Prada L'Homme smell, that kind of fresh, versatile smell, and then adds in a bit of a leather tonka sweetness and just a little bit more of a kind of a depth to it, a little bit more of a richness and complexity. Not that the original Prada L'Homme is too boring or not adequate enough. I just think that Prada L'Homme Intense does bring more to the table by way of that leather tonka, giving it a bit more of a sweetness, which makes it more versatile for the cooler times of the year. Now, in the warmer times of the year, Prada L'Homme, or the original, the Eau de Toilette, would be the way to go. And because of the added leather and tonka being here, this is going to be a better performer overall. If you're somebody who has been maybe a little bit frustrated or let down with the performance of Prada L'Homme, this is going to perform significantly better. It's still not like a beast mode scent by today's standards, but this is the type of scent that you don't really want it to be obnoxiously loud. It's more of a gentleman's type of scent that should have more of a reserved character to it, and it does. The longevity is the main thing that we're looking at, though, and it is much longer lasting than the original, which is a bonus. Typically around $80 to $85 for this one right here. That's full presentation. Sometimes testers will come up for, you know, maybe $10 or $15 less or something like that if you can get lucky and snag one before they sell out. Because when this one does go on sale, you know, for less than the usual $80 to $85, it always goes quick. And I always post about it and send emails about it because people are still really striving to pick this one up on a good deal. I think it's still worth the price that it normally goes for, but if you could save 10 or 15 bucks, why not? This next one is from Ralph Lauren, and it's one of the few that I really like a lot. Now, it's not to say that I don't like anything else. I do, but it kind of stops there. Most of their fragrances, the Ralph's Clubs and a lot of the polos, I think smell nice, and that's about the extent of it. You know, this one, on the other hand, goes a little bit deeper for me. It is Purple Label, of course, by Ralph Lauren. It's unfortunately one of the most expensive ones, coming in usually at, I don't know, $120 or a bit more, which isn't horrible, but it's, you know, higher in compared to other fragrances from the brand. But to me, it's 100% worth it. This one has blackberry, sage, and oak moss. Smells so unique. And, you know, this is kind of, well, it's the first of its kind, at least from what I have been able to see online. And then we've had some things, you know, Bond No. 9 Bleecker Street is in this category, came out after. Instead of a blackberry, it's a blueberry, but still uses a ton of oak moss, giving it this green masculine smell, just like this. It's not a clone. I'm not saying that it is, but it is definitely similar. And between the two, I do prefer the Ralph Lauren here, and it's more affordable, but still, Bleecker Street's really good too. I like the blueberry aspect on that one more so for spring, and I actually like Purple Label more so for fall and maybe early parts of winter. It just is a little bit heavier, a little bit sweeter, less kind of spring green leaning. I would give anything to see them make some flankers of this. You know, they are really doubling down on the Ralph's Club lineup. Doesn't surprise me, and hey, that works great. There are some good ones in there for sure, but they're all good. I mean, they all smell nice. The Ralph Lauren Polo line of either red, blue, or green is never going to die. Still pumping out flankers in there with some sort of consistency. This line is sat vacant forever. I don't think there's a single Purple Label clone, which I think they're just, or flanker, which I think they're missing out on so much. Give us a parfum. Give us something, man. I mean, really, I think there's a lot of potential being left on the table here. And so, no doubt about it, this one stands out big time in my collection. If I just want something different without taking it to the extreme, I go for Purple Label. And not to mention, just as an aside, that bottle is absolutely gorgeous. Really cool looking. Let's go for Le Beau Paradise Garden up next, kind of one of the newer releases to be in this video. Those first few I've had around for a good little while. This one came out last year, I guess it was already. Time is going by quick, and it was an immediate hit. Very much a quick success, a quick rise to the top, and I think most Le Beau and Le Male fragrances just get an instant boost and kickstart. They're just on fire and very much a trendy line right now. This one is, of course, no exception. What they're doing here is actually giving you a little bit more of a freshness, which is warmly welcomed, because while we like to consider Le Beau and Le Beau Le Parfum summer-oriented because they smell tropical, they are still very sweet. You know, it has the pineapple and the coconut, which already are two sweeter type of notes, but then they're doubling down with some tonka bean and some other stuff. So they have this tropical smell, but man, they are sweet. Not everybody likes it in the summer. This takes a step away, gives it more of a green feel here, and I think it's actually a great contender for spring. That would be about my go-to time to wear this one. This one has coconut, fig, and mint, so still maintaining that kind of tropical coconut smell, a little bit of fig to go along with it, but then a nice green mint, and some other fresh notes as well to, again, freshen it up a bit, making it more wearable, maybe even a little bit more mass-pleasing as well, depending on the time of year. This next one is Tom Ford Noir Extreme in the Parfum edition, big old fingerprint magnet. These gold bottles, I'm telling you, you know, as we get further into the flankers, they get more and more popular, but I'm telling you, you know, they don't always look good on camera. If you even just pick it up, you've fingerprinted it up big time. This basically takes that original EDP, that Kulfi, cardamom, gourmand, dessert smell, and adds in leather. That's kind of like the go-to thing that you'll see a trend here with, is that when it comes to these flankers and stuff, you get into an extreme or an intense or whatever, a more dark variant, or at least a heavier flanker, They toss in leather, and you know what? It works really well, and I'm not complaining because oftentimes it gives you more of that masculine balance. We've seen it several times. Another one that is very common, Ferragamo Uomo Signature. They toss in some leather, and now you've got a little bit more of a masculine backbone to that already very sweet DNA. So it does work. And so you can look at this a couple of ways. If the original either doesn't perform well enough for you, or it's too sweet with not enough balance, the Parfum version will help alleviate that a little. It really helps with the performance, but it is still very sweet, although the leather does help give it a little bit more of a masculine edge, which a lot of people would like. Now, speaking of something that doesn't really smell traditionally masculine at all, going in the opposite direction is Dior Homme Intense. However, I still love it. There's something comforting about it, and that's the main thing about this one. Every time I smell it, it is just comforting, probably partly nostalgic because I've had this for a long time. And surprisingly, I liked it when I first tried it, and I first tried it when I was very new still. And so kind of even surprised me. I was expecting not to like it because of the way it was described, powdery, sweet, makeup bag smelling. But I liked that it was unique and different, and still love it. And it pretty quickly became a favorite of mine just for that reason. It's something different. It's changed a bit over the years, not enough to really worry too much about. Like the newer bottles look different than this one. This is just what I have. And again, I can't even remember if I have a bottle of the new bottle style, because I have like new bottles of Dior Homme Cologne, new bottles of, you know, a bunch of random stuff. Sometimes it's hard to keep track, and I still have stuff kind of scattered about. But what I do know is that iris in here, it's not going to be for everybody because it's sweet and powdery, but definitely one that for me still stands out a lot. Next up is YSL Y, and this is the Le Parfum 2025 version. A big improvement over the 2022, I believe it was, launch year. Basically the other Le Parfum, the black bottle one. Never made a whole lot of sense because it wasn't drastically different than the Eau de Parfum, and in some ways was actually not quite as strong as the Eau de Parfum, and so a lot of times didn't make much sense to purchase if you have the EDP, and even if you didn't, it would make more sense to just buy the EDP. Now this one, the 2025, is different in a good way. Basically, they're adding in some pine needles here, this kind of pine needle, pine tree type of green woodiness that you didn't get in anything else within the lineup, giving it a little bit more of an outdoorsman woodsy type of smell, which is a nice contrast to mostly the rest of the line, which is kind of sweet, fresh leaning. You still ditched some of that sweetness here in favor of more of a woody aromatic focus, which is nice. I think this one's great for spring, but also could work into summer and really kind of year-round. And as always with year-round fragrances, you could probably find something better for each season. Meaning, you know, summer, you could wear this in summer, but something like Dior Homme Cologne would be better suited. You could wear this in winter, something like Kilian Apple Brandy would be better suited. But you could get away with wearing this anytime. And for a lot of us, just having that versatility and that kind of no-brainer go-to type of scent is valuable. And that's what this is, a great signature scent for those who don't want a large collection and don't want to have to worry about it. Armani Code Eau de Parfum, the 2024. Again, some of these dates are a little bit hard to remember. Basically, it's the new version. It's the Armani Code Profumo smelling variant. Obviously, in this new bottle, the old styled Code EDP just didn't really smell like Code Profumo at all. That was before Code Profumo was discontinued, and all they're doing is just simplifying things and putting things into new bottles and changing names and all that stuff. But it's not 100% accurate to Code Profumo. They didn't just rebottle it because there are some differences. It's not quite as rich as what OG Code Profumo was, but it is very close, and simply it's just the closest you're going to get from the brand, unless you went for a clone. But just talking about from, you know, the brand, this is just, it's the most authentic, the closest that you're going to get without buying Armani Code Profumo, which is just going to cost you a lot of money. It stands out to me because of that root beer fizzy cola smell that Code Profumo was known for, all the tonka bean focus. This has that too. Not quite to the same level, but again, very close, and it's great for fall and winter. If you want soapy, fresh, clean, and musky, Invictus Parfum will do it for you. And you wouldn't think so because, like, I wouldn't really consider Invictus and most of its flankers to be like soapy and clean. They're pretty sweet across the board. You know, even Invictus Aqua has that sweet kind of bubblegummy freshness. And all the Victories and stuff go even further sweet. But this one is like kind of the freshest and cleanest one that we've gotten yet, and it's a parfum, which is just not what I was expecting out of this at all. So it has soap listed off, watery notes or aquatic notes, sea notes, and then lavender and musk. So it's just kind of, again, they're fresh, clean out of the shower variant here. And I really like it, and I wasn't expecting to. It was confusing for a couple of reasons. One, looking at the note breakdown and seeing those notes, that didn't make sense to me. And then also just, you know, the fact that it is a parfum, you know, and this is what they chose to do with their parfum flanker. Just standalone Invictus parfum, that's, again, kind of confusing, opposite direction that I was expecting them to go. But nonetheless, I'm glad that we have it anyway. Last up for this video, we have Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. What a true classic, and it really, really is. For me, something that I thoroughly enjoy. And when it comes down to just something that is so easy to wear for literally any situation, Bleu de Chanel is kind of at the top of the list there. And as far as a classy blue fragrance goes, this is at the top of the list. This and maybe Elysium, but you know, Elysium maybe a bit more of a stretch, and also niche. If we're talking blue designers, Bleu de Chanel Parfum, or Eau de Parfum, excuse me, is going to be number one for classy blue. The parfum version of this is still bluish, but more woody focused and gets away a little bit. This is really focusing in on that ambroxan, grapefruit, incense combination, which of course is iconic. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Some of my favorite S-tier fragrances that stand out the most. These are always calling my name. I'll link them all down below if you wanna do some shopping. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.